Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. And it was 6 months ago I'd published a video testing all the pet trinkets in the game and doing a comparison between them all. And I felt that it was time to revisit that. With us not having a DLC for a couple months now almost, until sometime in April when it comes out, we're going to be at this current CR tier for a while. So I felt that it was best to kind of update it, because I hadn't really done anything since CR 273, which is a few DLCs, and there's some ones that had been updated. So let's kind of jump into that now and show you these at, technically it's 295 CR. Even though we're 296, the way pet CR works is that you have to be like technically 296 point, I think it's 5 or 296.6, like rounded up to the next level. Even though you're not at 297, you have to be at least halfway through 296. So that's why these summon at 295. So if you're, say you're 273.1, your pet trinket is going to summon at 272, not at 273. It's just weird how the CR scaling works with the pets. So we'll touch on the backup and henchman first. Nothing really changed, rather surprising, since August. The only thing that really did was the modern and hideout backup. So these are so basically sewer, hideout, and modern all are rifle based. So they most of their damage comes from, in sewer's case it's mortar, and then modern and hideout's case it's flamethrower. So I'm not sure if something happened or tweaked with rifle damage in terms of since August, in terms of its consistency, but when I tested these again now, they use rifle much more consistently in terms of using flamethrower. They are directly in melee range, same thing with like the Dark Robins or the Shadow Werewolves. So if the boss has kind of like AoE pulse damage, kind of like Barbatos or Lady Blackhawk where they stomp, it's much more likely those backups are going to die before they complete their attacks, which take about 60 seconds. But for whatever reason, rifles is much more consistent now. Sewer is still the top one, but that one you have to pay for in terms of a DLC layer. So it's about, I think it's about $10 or 900 station cash with the membership. So that's why that's not as ideal. But you know, even modern and hideout, which would be free, are quite close actually to that, and that's purely because of flamethrower. And you have the Dark Robins below that now, and then the Shadow Daemons and Shadow Minion backup are all pretty close together in terms of that. But just something with flamethrower, something that I found. Yes, it's still, these are only 3 parsers, so it's a smaller sample size, but you know, I was consistently seeing that across it, 115, 123, 118. So still depends on the number of hits. And then hideout was 128, 114, 115. So even though you've got the potential to be even higher than sewer, just depends on their consistency. But just something with flamethrower changed. Everything else stayed about the same. So moving over to Sidekicks. Sidekick, nothing changed at all. We had the Shadow Bat and the Metal Man Bat, which are the more recent ones, which are obviously the highest. But you're not using a Sidekick for damage regardless. You know, even the damage between the lowest, which is Shield, and the highest, which is Metal Man Bat, it's still around like, you know, 25k damage, which is not much. 25k damage over 60 seconds. It's not a huge gap. They're all very close together. But once again, you're using a sidekick for the taunt and the shield and the health regen. You're not using it for damage. But if you were, then you basically got your choice there. So over to the main page, I do want to get some testing points out of the way first. So I was not testing these on 8 sparring targets because the radius that they are in the league hall is just too wide. So some of the trinket pets would only attack like 6 targets, some would do 4, some would do 5. So it's just not consistent to use at all in terms of your testing. If you're actually in a raid, the tank would be grouping up all those adds together, so they'd be in a tighter formation than such a wide radius. So I only test them on 3 targets. The italic ones are ones that I don't have, which are about 7 of them now. I had to get other people to test it at the same conditions. Death Blossom, Death Spore, Pumpkin Jacks, I'll still have all the fake damage explosion when they disappear. So now it's at CR 295, it's 97,611. That's what that damage does. So that it shows up on your damage log and on your parser, but it does not show up in actual content. I've already tested that. It doesn't apply to the scorecard at all. It's just skews the parsers. So the Shadow Snake turret, the Green Crystal turret, the Antimatter turret, and the Snake turret are all unique in terms of their 10-second burst damage. And when you summon them, they don't move. So you have to make sure that you don't summon them in like the back of a hallway, and then all of a sudden the ads start moving forward. It's not going to follow you. It's going to summon in that direct position. Mrs. Boo still has higher potential for damage just because it has the proc encasement explosion. So if you have enemies that are encased by either the controller or the tank or other NPCs or the controller themselves, then Mrs. Boo can proc that damage explosion. The 4-leaf Leprechaun, it's a bit of a troll trinket, not in terms of controller, but actually as a troll. Either it's going to do his multi, like basically orbital rock hit, which does massive damage comparatively, or it does like a 3-hit combo that's really low. It's completely luck based, RNG based. And then, like I said, sewers, it's consistent just with rifle and flamethrower. So looking at the actual totals here, nothing really starts changing until we reach the 100k range. That's why there's all the sidekicks, all the backups are all lower. In terms of, then we got some lower ones like Heartthrob, Tombot, Server Unit, 25th Century Communicator. Those are all the 5% tank trinkets. So we got Tiny Starro, stuff like that. So obviously much lower. We've got the first kind of standout here, Robust Sidekick Melee. A lot of people use that as an extra loadout slot, so that's the type of damage you're expecting there. This is the Gorham Artifact. The pet there, 295 does 127k. And then 4-leaf Clover, like I said before, it either does a large massive hit, so 364,000 would put it even above, you know, that would be in the top 4 trinkets. But at the same time, you could also get 50k damage. Just depends on if it decides to attack. So that's why it's lower, but it has potential to be much higher. Mr. Boo is the lowest Boo trinket, which is it's the first one that came out. Brainiac Pet, that's the anniversary one. Once again, it was never useful. That's the summer event trinket from range. So just like Robot Sidekick, melee and range have different attack patterns, so they're going to have varying degrees in damage. Lexorb Sidekick, that's the one that comes out the marketplace for like $7 or $8. We have all the Boos. The Boos themselves are pretty close together. Their base damage, Baby Boo, Junior, Mrs. Boo. Not too much of a damage spread. Collector's Edition, the Green Crystal Antimatter, that's a completely reskin trinket, so that's why they're pretty much exactly the same. Same thing with Snake Turret and Shadow Snake Turret. That's supposed to be a reskin. I'm seeing slightly higher damage on Shadow Snake, but at the same time, it's only a limited sample size, with being 3 parsers. So if you're doing 100 parsers, they'll probably even out. We've got the Seahorse, Construct Bat, and the Shadow Bat, which are mostly the go-to for most people. We've got the Shadow Bat, which is going to be survival mode, but you know, Dark Construct Bat you can have, Seahorse you can get easily. They're pretty close, they're similar damage. And then we get into basically the top 4, which is the cheesy Boo utility belts. So even 2 Boos, so Mrs. Boo and Boo Jr., 340k damage. We've got the Summer Vet Trinket being a mini supercharge, only in melee range, so 444. And we got the 3 utility belt, just drop Mister. So at this point, you could keep your CR at 295 because the utility belt will scale with your CR of your trinket. So if you had 3 Boos in your DPS trinket off the vendor, then you could stay at 295 and then have 513k damage. And then obviously the Boo utility belt times 4, it's going to drop your CR to 292 because you don't have anything to scale with it. And that's 650k damage, and that's all AoE damage. So as you can see, in terms of what are we looking at in terms of a top 10, so top 10 will be Robot Sidekick Melee, Snake Turret, Shadow Snake Turret, Atlantean Seahorse, Dark Construct Bat, Shadow Bat, and then the Boo utility belt times 2, 3, and 4, and then the Summer Event trinket mixed in there as well. So that's the average CR, 295. All the trinket pets tested here. The only one that's not tested is the Joker's Collector's Edition trinket, because I don't have that on the villain side at max CR, but everything else here is tested. And the spreadsheet I'll put in the comment section, as well as I'll update that guide there on the forums. So take care, guys. Thanks for watching.